today's webinar is on managing staff and really kind of managing your HOA operation while we're in a remote situation. We are in pretty unprecedented times, and by no means is everything we cover today prescriptive for everybody on the call today, but we want to just share some of the best practices that we have seen and some of the things that we are implementing here at TOPS during this time with all of you to help you guys, again, be safe and secure and productive during this time. As way of introduction, my name is Mike Hardy. I'm president here at TOPS Software. Joining me on the webinar today is Teri Perez. Can you say hi?
How's it going?
Good. How are you doing today?
Pretty good, pretty good. It's really nice to see some really familiar faces here at the TOPS community.
All right, so today we're talking about managing your staff. And one of the things, kind of just remind everybody, you know, we're all in this together. These are pretty unprecedented times. Talking to a client about a week ago, and there's been nothing that this industry has faced, no natural disaster, hurricane, earthquake, fire, that has ever kind of put business on hold the way that this pandemic has. So, you know, for us, we have had our entire team working remote for the last 4 weeks. And it's our hope that in sharing these best practices, we help you guys find ways to kind of remain productive while also remaining safe. So again, the topic today is managing remote staff and maintaining routine business. Again, these are really tough things to do under the best of circumstances. They are made even more difficult when you find yourself rapidly scrambling to try to do this stuff. Again, that's a very hard prospect to even think about. So number one thing we just want to say out the gate is that we encourage you to follow all the safe distancing guidelines that have been issued at the federal level, at the state level, at the city or county level, wherever you are. That 6-foot distance, the minimizing, you know, participating in any kind of group activities, non-essential businesses being closed, minimizing those trips to the store. All these things that you can do to help keep yourself safe from possible infection, or if you are indeed kind of somebody who may unknowingly have the coronavirus, just to keep yourself from unwittingly sharing it with somebody else. So again, everything we're talking about today is designed to help you guys observe a lot of these safe distancing guidelines which have been handed down. So the first kind of best practice that we have seen when we look at working remotely is that now more than ever, you need to commit to communicating regularly with your entire team. And we're going to split communications really in kind of 2 buckets. There's going to be internal communications, which will be your team, and then there'll be the external communications, which will be to the clients, homeowners, board members. We'll talk about that a little bit later in the presentation. So when we think about communicating regularly, what does that really look like? Well, if your organization was one that really did a good job of communicating internally pre-pandemic, you're going to be better suited to kind of make this shift to working remotely. Your people will know who to talk to, the different methods to communicate with one another. They will have a better understanding of how to use the communication tools at their disposal. If this was a struggle internally before the pandemic, it's probably adding a lot of strain to your organization today. People might feel out of the loop. People might be unsure what method of communication to use for what purpose. So again, these are things that, you know, as we rapidly shift to this, you need to begin thinking about, how do I want my people to communicate internally? So one of the things that we have done, and I've seen it kind of in a lot of other businesses, is setting a regular cadence of team-wide calls. And when I mean team-wide calls, I'm not saying it has to be like an every day or every other day, but the organization as a whole needs to collectively hear from leadership what we're doing, what steps we're taking, how we're going forward, how we're adjusting different business processes to kind of the current working situation. And when you think about doing that, it could be as easy as a standing weekly call. It could be as easy as just kind of a written kind of internal newsletter that you share internally. It's whatever makes the most sense for your organization based on the resources you have at your disposal. But one of the resources that we think you should look to invest in as soon as possible, if you don't do it already today, is more of an internal real-time communication tool like a Slack or Microsoft Teams. We at Tops use Microsoft Teams to replace a lot of our internal email. It's far easier to just send a quick message to one or many people, including attachments, including even ad hoc presentations, versus the burden of email. And that Slack or Teams product, it's something that can work on your phone, it can work on a tablet, it can work on a PC or a Mac. So it's a nice way to keep everybody connected in more of a real-time way. And Teri, I mean, I know you're a big believer in internal communication tools. What are your experiences with this?
Yeah, so we've always been pretty powerful as far as the communication tools that we use within Tops, with it being Teams or any type of video conferencing. The video aspect of it holds accountability. When you can see somebody face to face and you can read them,
Yeah,
and you bring that human element back into the conversation, and it's not just a phone call. In times like this, we have to figure out how to bring the workplace and our customers all together at the same time. And so the video conferencing part for our team has been huge. Keeping in touch with your employees and your customers is paramount. We all know that in the customer service world, any period of darkness when you're talking about communications with customers or lack of communications with customers is terrible. The last thing somebody wants to hear or not hear is a lack of follow-up. And so in times like this, it's extremely important to, exactly like you said, Mike, over communicate so that you can stress and you can show that empathy. Above all else right now, empathy is important. And so the only way that we can show empathy really is by doing that personal touch. And that really involves video. So definitely agree with you on those points.
Yeah, and that last point is a really important one, is that, again, starting with your team first, before we even think about engaging clients, you want to make sure that you're satisfying their need to hear from you. And any fear of over communicating, throw that out the window. Now more than ever, your team needs to hear from you. They need the confidence and they need to feel that you are on top of the situation and that they can draw on your strength during these times. So it's really, really important. And the good news is tools like Slack have a free version, so it doesn't have any cost associated with getting it employed in your operation. And if you're using Office 365, Microsoft Teams is just a part of that subscription, and it's something that you could probably deploy pretty quickly as well. All right, moving on to the next point. And you just kind of talked on it, Teri, which is utilizing video conferencing. That accountability, that level of connectedness, you just can't get that same feel listening to somebody's voice alone. So the great news is that we live in a day and age where there are so many great platforms in the market today for you to use that allow you to do web meetings and video conferencing. Zoom, GoToMeeting, Join.me, WebEx. There are so many platforms out there, and almost all of them have a low cost or no cost video call solution that you can sign up for and begin using immediately. So at Tops, we use a combination of GoToMeeting and we use a little bit of Zoom. Both have their pros and cons. Zoom is really the name that you're hearing a lot today. They have a free version that allows you to have up to 100 participants for up to 40 minutes of video call time, which is really pretty generous. Again, so for free, you can get that. GoToMeeting, I believe, also has a free video conference option. It doesn't have 100 participants, but I think it limits you to about 25, but I think it's unlimited as far as time. And Join.me has a free product as well. So again, if you're looking to utilize video conferencing, there are tools you can set up, you can subscribe to today. There's low cost, there are no cost options, but it is a great way to get your face and your team's face in front of each other. So it allows you to feel connected. There's a lot of boredom that is associated sometimes with conference calls. It kind of helps alleviate that because it's stimulating both kind of your ears and your eyes. The collaboration, being able to see each other, makes the experience a lot better than just kind of hearing somebody alone. And if you think about your boards still have an expectation that you're taking care of the business of the community. Video conferencing like GoToMeeting or Join.me gives you a way to connect to them and still have that face-to-face meeting without physically being there. So again, it's a nice alternative to trying to physically host that meeting.
Yeah, and Mike, I would say this, when you as a management company, as a leader of that organization, when you have a communications plan, you look that much better to your customers. When they can hear and they can see communication via text or via email, or a bulletin that people can use in the software, when they can see that you have a plan for communication and this isn't something that you're just kind of stumbling upon or you're in a panic, these things bring comfort to clients. And so it's extremely important, not only to over communicate, but also it reduces boredom, but it also you have to think about your employees' mental health. And one of the things that we know about is, a lot of people are extroverts. You have a lot of people at the office that count on that social interaction and they count on that camaraderie. I can speak from years of experience on our support channel. We have approximately 20 or so people that are grouped together and they operate almost as a hive mind. And so when you take that away from your company, that's a strength. Your company always has strength in numbers, and so you take that away, that can become burdensome. And so one of the things that you want to be concerned with are those employees' mental health at this time. Getting them face to face, making sure that they still have that communication and you can joke, and live the same way. These are very important things for the employees.
Yeah, well said. Really well said. Our third point, and this is not a technology solution, but this is a business solution, and that is really allowing for flexibility. Nobody came into March thinking that we would have this pandemic nationwide that was going to force us to immediately go into a remote work situation. You're doing your best to accommodate. Your people are doing their best to accommodate. The dirty little secret is that even when people were in the office, it's not like they were working kind of sun up to sundown every single day. There's a lot of sneaker time, a lot of walking around, talking to people, hanging out in the kitchen. And that's good stuff. I mean, that's not a bad thing. That's a really, really good thing, because that's how people feel connected in the office, and that's what makes a good workplace. But what is reality is that the people that were used to coming in and be able to work and then take a break and work and take a break, probably now they're working from home and they're probably not observing some of those same breaks in their normal day. They're probably getting up, they're starting to work early. They don't have the ability to walk over to a colleague's desk and chit chat for a minute. They don't have the ability to kind of run out for lunch. So they're stuck there kind of working. So this sounds kind of crazy, but you want to make sure that they know that you want to give them flexibility to work in a way that gives them that balance in their life. And especially if they got kids around. I've got 4 kids at home that are distance learning right now. I actually came to the office for this webinar today because it's really nearly impossible. It's nearly impossible to have a little peace and quiet. So I actually came to the office because guess where? There's no one at the office. So I'm here by myself. So this is really good for me. But you have a team you trust. There's things that are time sensitive. They know those time sensitive things need to get done. But for other things that are a little bit more administrative that need to get done, but maybe not as time sensitive, giving them the flexibility to fold that around the other new things that have kind of popped into their life, like managing like their kids and their school for their kids and making lunches for kids, and maybe it's a spouse or other family members that they're having to kind of provide for a little bit more. Your dedication to your staff is always shown by how much flexibility you give them in a time like this.
Yeah, Mike, and I'll say this, just kind of bragging about TOPS for a minute. Not only the fact that we've been on the top places to work in Tampa for I think 4 or 5 years in a row, but one of the kind of our philosophies is, our employees, our people, how can we expect them to focus on doing their job above and beyond if they have to worry about, a babysitter one day or something like that? And so allowing the flexibility, it really does help get the most out of your people. And it shows that you care not just about what they're producing, but it shows that you care about their life as well. And that's important for anybody to understand.
Yeah. And the last point on this slide is, make sure that with that flexibility, you do have visibility into what the team's doing. So you've got some tracking capabilities to see who's doing what, and make sure that people, aren't slacking off, that they're remaining kind of dedicated and getting their work done. Our fourth best practice kind of goes hand in hand with that, and that's encouraging that work-life balance. Again, right now, everybody's life is a little bit out of balance. You get in a car, you drive to work, you get in a car, you drive home, you do work, like, home life and back and forth. Now we're having to juggle work and life in one location, which is our house. And again, it's easy to get out of balance here. And so right now, there's a good chance that your colleagues that can come into work and they punch in and focus on work-related stuff, now they have to think about kids and spouses and the household. And if you're like me with 4 kids at home, sanity and their job. And so there's a lot of things. So be flexible, communicate, make sure that they know what you expect from them, that they know what they can expect from you as an employer. Be encouraging them in their day-to-day, but really encourage them to carve out time for their personal stuff. Again, I was talking to Sandra, who's on the webinar for TOPS before the call today. It's like, we probably work harder now that we're working from home. So we need to kind of let our staff know that, hey, I need you to stop working for a minute because I want you to check on your kid while they're doing their homework, or I want you to stop and have lunch with your kids and your spouse and enjoy like a lunch break away from the desk. And I want you to be able to kind of get outdoors and go for a walk or a bike ride or do something that's good for your sanity and good for your health. I don't want you just to work from sun up to sundown. Get that balance in place. Make sure that they're carving out time to take care of all the other really important things in their day. Because again, the reality is most people will go overboard and just throw themselves into work. And you don't want that because that can just kind of lead to some burnout and resentment if you don't catch it sooner.
Yeah, Mike, I think one of the nice things that we did, I don't know if it was you or Brianna that kind of authored it, but we had a challenge where, Mike, you challenged the entire company to reach out to somebody they haven't spoke to in a long time, just to kind of follow up with them and see how they're doing and get kind of reacquainted with them. So that was a really nice exercise to see some of those stories come back.
Yeah, I mean, and this, on that point, I mean, you look at some of the numbers. I mean, 2 weeks ago, 3.2 million people filed for unemployment. I forget the numbers from last week, but I think it was something even worse than that. There's unprecedented economic hardship that is befalling so many people. The fact that if you're not laying off people, you're keeping them employed, they're able to do their job, that's great. You want to make sure that you're taking good care of them and that you're helping them to take care of the people that they've got to take care of as well, kind of while we get through this. So again, reaching out, I think it's important to do that. I mean, we challenged our team last week to, as a goal, reach out to one person that you've lost touch with to just see how they're doing, to make sure that they're healthy, that they have a friendly, caring voice that's, genuine, like demonstrating that they're interested. It's important that we give a lot of our positive energy where we can to those around us. All right. The 5th goal is to create goals with rewards. And this one actually, probably a lot of businesses do this today where they're creating incentive plans to kind of get people to perform at a higher level. But when you're working in a remote situation, it actually becomes even more important that you do this. And the rewards are maybe a little less valuable than the recognition that you can give to somebody that is working remotely, that's adjusting to kind of this new way of doing things. So a couple of just points to think about. Companies that actually have a solid strategy to recognize employees have a better level of engagement, employee morale, customer service, lower turnover. But why it's good for you is that employees, when there's opportunities for recognition, will actually generate as much as 50% greater productivity. It's encouraging for the people who get the recognition. For the people who see you recognize somebody else, it can be motivating for them. But more than anything, particularly when you're remote, it allows everybody in the organization to know that you're paying attention. And so when we have our standing weekly company calls, we recognize 2 or 3 people that really kind of stood out from the week before. And we do it in a public way. And you don't have to put a lot of financial reward on these people. You don't have to give them like a healthy kind of financial bonus. it can be something as small as a little bit of gift card. It could be just that vocal recognition in a public way. It could be having them memorialized in some kind of a picture or even a certificate. Again, that praise, that public recognition does so much good for your team because it delivers in so many different areas. It's good for the person that gets it. It's good for the team in general. It fosters greater productivity, but it also lets them know that you are paying attention to what's going on.
Yeah. What would be interesting, Mike, is to see if we can get some responses on what are some of the things that our customers today that are attending this webinar, what are some of the things that they recognize their employees for in times like
Yeah.
this? We know that, we're a software sales company, we're a service-oriented company as well. So we have internal things that we do, such as sales, support, metrics that we gauge on that we can say, you know what, this person did a standout job, or we get a special email or something from a client that points out somebody's great service or great job. It'd be interesting to hear what our customers do as well, and what they find that their employees stand out in.
Yeah, no, if you've got comments on it, please, there's in the web meeting panel, there's a ability to kind of submit questions and comments, submit feedback on like that, because I'd love to see that too. We are far from having it perfected, but it'd really be nice, kind of, Teri, to kind of come up with maybe like a little sheet of different ideas when it comes to recognition, and being able to share that sheet with all the attendees
Yeah.
after the webinar and say, hey, this is what some of you guys are doing. These are some great ideas. Want to share them back.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you look at some of our customers, and I say customers, and I'll say customers/partners. You look at some of them, and they have amazing culture. Our customers,
Yeah.
they're in Jersey, the Martins in Colorado. These are all people that have amazing company culture. So as partners, we would definitely love to hear what you guys do as well.
Yeah. And again, this is really important because it does, while everybody is remote, it does kind of allow you to keep everybody, knowing that you're paying attention to them and that you're recognizing those people that are really working hard. Again, it's so critical when we're remote, and especially when we're working remotely with no kind of estimated time to return to normal. Is it another month? Is it another 2 months? A lot of this is still unknown. So the sooner you can implement something like this, and again, the barrier for this is really, really small. You don't need technology. You don't need to change any kind of systems. You simply need to be kind of talking to your managers, watching what your people are doing, promoting these people that are really stepping up so that everyone can see them. The final thing is just kind of about cloud-based tools. And in a day and age like this, where you now find yourself with people working remotely from home, if your tools that you use day in, day out are not able to be used on a phone or a tablet or a Mac or a PC, you're probably finding that it's a little bit harder to get work done. And there's a number of areas in the HOA world where we think there's opportunities to use cloud-based tools, cloud-based accounting and management platforms. We've got our TOPS One platform that is a cloud-based SaaS product and used by over 500 management companies today. So that's a great example of a cloud-based management tool, and a little bit of a gratuitous plug, but at the end of the day, I got to do it. There's cloud-based owner and board engagement tools, ways to, again, engage your residents and board members where they can't physically come to your office or attend a board meeting. Online payment tools, again, whether it's part of your bank, whether it's a part of your portal, a part of your accounting system. One of the scary things to think about is I read in the news today that mail service is beginning to kind of maybe get slowly interrupted. Well, if you're highly dependent on a bank lockbox and there's an interruption to the mail service, there could be an interruption to the payment flow into that bank lockbox into your accounting system. So if you haven't really doubled down on online payment tools, this kind of pandemic is a great time to explore that. And we actually have within our TOPS One platform and on our portal platform our own payment engine that's kind of front and back that allows you to kind of manage all your ACH and credit and debit payments. But look into it, because again, if the lockbox flow of mail is interrupted, that could really hurt the association. Remote printing, again, if you physically can't get to the office and you still need to kind of get print and mail out, whether it's statements, whether it's collection letters, Using a service like an Optimal Outsource or a South Data that can remotely print your mail and get it out for you just means that's one less thing that your staff has to worry about trying to come into the office for, or trying to find some kind of kludgy workaround. Outsourcing some of the accounting functions. I know that on what they can do on the accounting side, then something to think about is how do they remain productive? And so maybe this is a good time to explore outsourced accounting. Hold on one sec, guys. I think my AirPods are dying.
They can hear you. You cut out for a second, but we can hear you now.
Yeah, so I think my AirPod died. So I'm just going to go computer audio. Can you hear me?
Can hear you.
All right, show must go on. Web meeting, we talked about it earlier, but web meeting tools, Zoom, GoToMeeting, Join.me, WebEx. Again, if you're looking to conduct board meetings, there are great tools to do that to keep connected to your boards. Team-based communications. Some of the benefits of cloud-based tools in general, pandemic or no pandemic, lower upfront costs, reduced internal IT demands, improved business continuity, scalability. You can see the list here. At the end of the day, cloud-based tools are ways to put shock absorbers on your business, and it takes less things. It reduces the number of things that you have to worry about so that you can focus on taking care of your clients and doing business. So again, if you haven't made the jump into some or all of these different tools, now is a great time to begin exploring your options. Any comments on that, Terry?
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that we talk about with a lot of customers is also document storage. You think about that, and you think about, again, a little plug for us is that we do have unlimited document storage, and so making sure that you know that you're always going to have documents, PDFs that are pertinent to each community, that are pertinent to this or that part of the business. It's important that you have access to that information. If that information is pertinent to a homeowner or a vendor, you need access to this information at all times. And so having that in the cloud and having that information accessible on your phone at any point in time, that's very important.
Yeah, great point. Because so much of what we do is paper-based or document-based. Being without your filing cabinets, I mean, what a great example. Using a repository where you have all that digitized means that you can continue to access key files even if you're not at the office.
Yeah, I mean, if you walk through any management company, it just seems like they have boxes and mountains of paper in every hallway and every desk.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen them turn them into like bars where they stand around and have lunch on top of them. Yeah. I mean, if I had a lot of filing cabinets, I'd want to do the same.
Yeah, I mean, I'd plank on
them. Yeah, I'd like to see that actually.
Yeah.
I'd like to see that. Let's kind of go on. So again, that's really important. But again, when you think about being remote, there's actually some really good benefits just in general with being remote. So even though we are kind of thrust into it right now, there is a lot of evidence that says being remote can actually save a company as much as $11,000 a year in expense, just with being able to reduce some of the telecommuting, or the flexibility with telecommuting reduces some of the expense of kind of maybe hiring people closer into the office. Talked to a client a week before last who operates in the Pacific Northwest, but two of his bookkeepers are in Florida, and he can more cost effectively run his business up in the Pacific Northwest with accounting in Florida because he's using a web-based system that kind of blurs the lines where people are. So again, if you can recruit and retain people at a better wage in another market, but still operate where you are, again, there's opportunities where being remote is a good thing for you guys. So coming out of this kind of, again, this unprecedented event, maybe there are some business process changes you want to look at in your business that make you more successful going forward.
Yeah, Mike, and I say this now more than ever, talking to management companies all across the United States, they are allowing their property managers to work from home. And one of the benefits that you talk about with working remotely is that extends their coverage area. And so now that opens up new markets and new business to them because they have coverage outside of their normal area.
Hey, so you think about that, like if you is all of a sudden getting bigger, uh, because you've got people working remotely, now there's more business for you to pursue. Yeah, that's a great point, Terry. All right, so these are some of the kind of topics when it comes to you and your business being remote. Want to shift gears and talk for the next kind of 10 minutes or so on just kind of keeping connected with your communities. And our goal is to kind of wrap this webinar up here in the next 10 or 15 minutes so you guys can get back to your day. So you think about your communities, they also during this time need to know that you're on top of things, you're still communicating, you're still available, that there's a plan. So some things just to think about is make sure that you are providing easy access to key information for homeowners. Terry said it earlier, and it is true. Consumers, customers, they don't mind bad news or good news, but what they hate is no news.
That's right.
If you've ever flown at an airport, like flown, and you've been sitting in the terminal or waiting to kind of because your flight's delayed, and you're sitting there getting agitated until that gate attendant comes on the PA and lets you know what's going on and why there's a delay, you'll continue to kind of get more and more agitated. But once that announcement comes across, you can feel everybody kind of take a little bit of a sigh and a little bit of the temperature goes down. And that's simply because not knowing is worse than knowing. And so for you, there's an opportunity with your homeowners, make sure you're providing them easy access to the information they need. What is their balance? How much can they make a payment? Is there anything, are they into collections? Is there a pending violation still in their account? Anything that you can do to make that easier, you want to be doing. Terry, do you have anything on that?
Totally agree with you.
Okay, cool. All right. So second recommendation too is find a forum where your members can interact with your organization or with one another. Again, if you're looking at these web meeting tools, many of them have a chat component built into them. So if you're looking to kind of interact with your communities, if you're looking to interact with your board members, it's important that you not only are interacting with them, but they're also allowing them to kind of interact with each other. And it's probably best to do it in a way that is kind of safe and secure. So again, a lot of these meeting platforms have the ability to have a chat dialogue. Many of them allow you to kind of preserve that chat dialogue so you can see it and record it and memorialize it after the fact. But again, it's all about making sure that even though these are kind of crazy times, that we're trying to observe as much of the normalcy as we can.
Yeah, Mike, and I'll kind of offer just another plug there. Our owner portals and our board portals are also a place where you can stay in touch with your communities and your board members. It's extremely important that people hear this message today. There are a ton of communities and management companies out there that have no access to online payments or no online presence or access. And so it's extremely important that they understand that this is a way and this is a forum for them to speak to their communities.
Yeah, I mean, and when you do think about that, again, the idea that the mail service could get interrupted, and if an HOA is really dependent on a bank lockbox, if the flow of mail to that lockbox were to somehow get squeezed, how does that hurt the association in cash flow? How does it hurt the association in uh, putting someone into collections that tried to actually submitted their payment in a timely fashion? So the more that you can offer them tools online, it kind of de-risks your HOA from those kind of things. Keeping homeowners and board members in the know. And again, we've talked about this, communicate, communicate, communicate. You cannot over communicate, whether it's an email blast to homeowners, whether it is web meetings with the board members, whether it is a kind of a public session that you're inviting all of the same into. You're adjusting your business practices, you're changing the hours, you're changing the way that your people are operating, sharing that back with your clients so that they know what is going on and they know what to expect. Again, it's like that gate agent, if you're waiting for a delayed flight, if they know that it's going to take a little bit longer to get a call back because of the changes that you're implementing, let them know that. I mean, they may not like that it's going to take longer, but at least they understand why and what you're doing. So again, the more that you can commit to communicating with them, the less agitated they're going to get in this time. And the more you can communicate like a positive plan, that also will inspire confidence in your management services.
Yeah, Mike, and I'll say this as well. You talk to every management company across the United States, and almost all of them say, when I ask them, hey, what sets you apart from every other management company? What makes you different from the guys down the street or the gals down the street? And they all say customer service.
Yeah.
And so, I have a few management companies that are here attending right now that I would say, and I would give my word that I know that they're impeccable people, that they're incredible people, and I know that they stand by customer service. I would encourage people not to be afraid to tell people the things that you do right, the things that you're doing proactively, the steps that you're taking to make sure that their homeowners have ease and they have everything that they need during these times. That's not really just blowing your own horn for the sake of blowing it. That's making sure that they know how much value that you bring to the table. And that's all customer service 101.
Yeah, great point. Because if you're not telling them what's going on, if you're not communicating that positive message, you're leaving room for somebody else to inject their own narrative.
That's right.
Yeah, so that's a really, really good point. And kind of along that lines, if you are looking to communicate, there's so many different ways to communicate with people today than ever was before. So it could be email, it could be web meetings, it could be a text message, it could be voice broadcasts. So think about all the different ways that your homeowners could be communicated with. And a communication method I think that's really underutilized in the HOA industry are text messages, because we still rely on paper, which is slowly kind of going away. And email is become so ubiquitous that I think a lot of us just kind of delete so many emails pretty quickly without even giving them a second thought. But if we get a text message like this gentleman in the picture, we generally stop what we're doing to see what that text message is about. So again, if you haven't looked at like an omni-channel communication strategy, owner portals, board portals, text messaging, email blasts, voice broadcasts, now is a great time to look into the services, because many of them can be activated in a pretty short period of time, sometimes even same day or next day. And again, if you're thinking about, hey, I need to let everybody know about X or Y, if you were to employ something like a text message, I think the read rate with text messages is like 98%. So it's astronomically high. So look into it. Again, oftentimes these services can be subscription based or they can be usage based. I know we offer our own kind of omni-channel communication service. We're happy to kind of help do that if you're not using a service today. But again, it's a great way to get in front of as many homeowners and board members with your messages. Anything you want to add on that one?
No, I mean, you plugged it pretty good. I was just going to say it's pretty amazing that we do have a tool that facilitates all that. So it's good stuff.
Yeah. So kind of recapping everything we talked about today, remember that in a time, like even in normal times, what you provide is extremely valuable. But in these kind of situations, what you provide is vital. It's leadership, it's guidance, it's expertise, it's the services. Make sure that you are fostering your team so that they continue to deliver at that high level. So communicate daily, utilizing the video conferencing, allow for the flexibility, working with that work-life balance with your team, making sure that they're not putting too much into work and neglecting the other important parts of their life, creating goals and rewarding and giving recognition to people that are excelling, utilize cloud-based services where you have kind of deficiencies today. And then with your communities, make sure the homeowners and board members have easy access, that you're giving them a way to have a two-way dialogue, a forum with you as a leadership team. Keep them in the know. Make sure that just as we encourage you to communicate daily and frequently with your staff, have some regular cadence of communications with your clients so that they know what you're doing. And again, if it makes sense, look at the different communication channels that you can use to reach out to them. Again, your message via email may or most likely will get ignored. So maybe a voice to text or a text message or a voice broadcast is the right way with something as critical as the things you're doing for the association. All right. So with that, we've come to the end of the presentation. I kind of said we'd try to wrap it up around 3:45, 3:50. I'm not sure if we have any questions or not. If we do, happy to take one or two before we end the webinar. So Maria and Sandra, do we have any questions we want to try to address, or do we want to wrap up for the day?
Hi, Mike. I did actually have a question from Melissa Hernandez, who had asked if we had seen any management companies change their general hours of availability due to the coronavirus.
It's a good question. So is anybody actually, changing the hours that they operate based on the coronavirus? Teri, like you're probably dealing a little bit more day in, day out with different companies. What have
Yeah.
you?
Yeah, I actually have. Witnessed management companies change their general hours of availability, especially to people coming into the office, where we do have customers that have completely shut down operations. But these are a lot of the customers that completely shut down operations is when it comes to the physical offices. They have a continuity plan to where they have a situation where they can work from home, and they've enabled themselves. A few of our clients that have been in Tops One for years now. They have been accustomed to working from home as well. Yeah.
Yeah. So I do think that, I've seen a couple messages where clients are kind of changing their hours of operation a little bit. But more than anything, what I think they're doing is, particularly with email, they are kind of letting clients know that, response time might be a little bit delayed, that they've kind of become decentralized. And so they're just asking for a little bit of grace from clients. So I don't have any guidance particularly on what's the right thing to do other than, work with your team and know what's the right solution for them as far as kind of balancing kind of office hours coupled with the demands of your clients and what they expect from you guys. So I
You
think
know what
that's
I would like to know, Mike, is through COVID-19, speaking to our customers, what have you seen it by way of the customer service interactions and phone calls and the needs of the homeowners? Have those needs increased? And that would be a great thing to hear back from everybody. If those needs have increased, or if you've kind of witnessed some periods of darkness where you don't have as much activity, would be really good to know.
Yeah, good question. I mean, maybe customer service requests are down because homeowners are focused on other things. So I mean, it's a really good question. Sandra, do we have? I think we got time for one more if you have one.
Yes, we did have a question from Crystal Bagley about if we had any feedback or advice regarding facilitating annual meetings. And I believe it's board meetings, etc.
Yeah. I mean, I think the advice is obviously, based on whatever your federal, state, local guidelines are. I mean, your local guidelines probably are the ones you really want to be paying attention to. Like, what does your state say? What does your kind of county or city say as far as kind of getting together? But I would imagine the safest thing to do is suspend any physical annual meeting and replace it with a virtual annual meeting to the best that you have the ability to do that. And again, using a lot of the tools we talked about today, GoToMeeting or Zoom or Join.me or WebEx. There's a lot of tools that you could have to not only conduct the meeting, but you can record the meeting, you can do polls, you can do votes, you can log the transcript of any kind of conversations or chats that happen. So it gives you a lot of visibility and tracking into what happened during the meeting. But the best thing to do, I would say, is to follow your local and state guidelines. But the safe thing to do is just suspend any physical annual meeting if you can, or switch it to digital or online if it has to happen. Thank you guys for coming out today and being a part of this webinar. Hopefully you picked up a little bit of kind of feedback from us, some things that you could find useful in your operation. If you're not familiar with us, we are a provider of web-based solutions, not only cloud ERP, but we also provide resident and board engagement tools, omnichannel communication tools, accounting as a service, payment services. So if you're looking for a one-stop shop to manage the entire HOA business in a single integrated platform, there's no better solution in the market today than our Tops One product. So I'd love to talk to you about that as well. But more than anything, guys, just want to wish you guys a very productive and healthy and safe next several weeks. I hope to see you guys at an event and in the future. And we're going to continue to do some webinars going forward to move a lot of our educational content online so we can continue to hopefully provide answers to some of the questions that you guys have in kind of business day to day. So that's it for me. Thank you guys for coming today. Teri, any last words?
That's it, man. Great, great stuff. If you need any follow up or have any questions, please reach out to us, and we'd love to speak with you.
Awesome. Have a great rest of your week, everybody, and look forward to seeing you online hopefully real soon.